Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another segment of Get to Know. We are here with Davis Cheek, USFL, current New Orleans Breakers player, quarterback. If you want to introduce yourself, tell the people a little about yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Davis Cheek. Went to Elon University, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, originally.
Okay, yeah. Well, just like I said, we're gonna start with some simple questions, just little, hot ones to get things rolling. First things first, what's your favorite snack? Your go-to guilty pleasure snack?
Oh man, probably some ice cream, to be honest. A little tonight
Okay,
though.
I hear that absolutely. You got a favorite, or just any ice cream in general? Or you have a favorite go-to?
Probably the tonight though.
Oh, tonight. Okay, you did say
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
The Ben and Jerry's thing. I gotta say that it's pretty good.
Gotcha. I thought you were just saying tonight though, like you were gonna eat some
Oh no,
tonight.
no.
So
Hey, you never know.
yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite warm-up song? You got to get in the game. You want to get 100% motivated. What's your go-to there?
I don't know if it's a particular song. I'd see it's more of a kind of a vibe, I'd say. I don't know how exactly that sounds, but I'm a big Travis Scott fan for some reason.
Okay.
Pre-game, I don't know, and really the Rodeo album,
Okay.
particularly. So I'll go to the Rodeo album and pretty much just go down the list.
Love that. Yeah, Travis Scott's real easy. I don't know if space out is the right word, but just to kind of take you out of the element, it's like it's a weird, relaxing hype music trend that he has. So I can definitely see
Yeah,
that.
it's that like for me, it's all about being you don't want to be too high, too low, right? You want to be
Right.
even keeled, but you also need to have some level of like you know uh, locked in, if you will. So that's for some reason that album in particular kind of helps foster that environment for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine different positions too. Like you said, for a quarterback, it feels like that you have to be locked in, but you also have to be ready to get hype. Whereas if
Yeah,
you're a linebacker, you're probably listening to maybe more of like Boosie or so a little more aggressive stuff. So I love that take as far as like the quarterback kind of wanting to be mellow, locked in, but also ready to get hype and make things
yeah.
happen. So. Last little quick hit. If you could throw to any receiver, professional, whatever it may be, current player, former player, who would you love to throw a touchdown to?
Oh man, current or former?
Current or former,
Um,
yeah.
man, I'd say Randy Moss or current player. I'd probably say Devonte Adams.
Okay,
The
yeah,
former player,
Devontae.
let's go Randy Moss. Current, I'd say Devonte Adams.
Love that. Yeah, both solid options for sure. Growing up in North Carolina, playing college ball, I understand in North Carolina, and
Hmm.
then winding up on the Carolina Panthers. I know in one of your interviews you said before it feels surreal to kind of wind up there. While it, at the end of the day, wasn't quite the end result I imagine you wanted. Was it unique to kind of play your entire career there up until that point? Was there any drawbacks that you felt, or was it just a positive experience all around?
No, it was definitely positive. It was extremely unexpected. Especially I always had aspirations to go big D1. I figured and came to terms with really young. Okay, I'm gonna have to be away from home. Most likely, I could be across the country. I could be wherever, and I was completely fine with that. And it's kind of funny that I was prepared for that alternative, and really, I ended up being 2 hours away from my hometown in college, and then back in my hometown for professional. Whether obviously that time didn't last for very long, but um, it was still pretty funny because you just expect it to be uh, going all over the place, whatever, but you end up just, you end up where you end up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, did you grow up a Panthers fan?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely did. I
Yeah.
grew up just really a fan of the game more than anything.
Hmm.
I always liked the Panthers, especially when Cam Newton came. That was definitely a different energy for at least like the organization and just those teams. So that was always fun to watch. Me being a player, I liked Cam and the energy he brought and like the leadership and aspect of everything. But as just like him and his play style, I wasn't the same sort of player. So that was the only difference I'd say when I didn't necessarily grow up watching Cam Newton, but I enjoyed watching the person he was on the field.
Yeah, yeah, Cam. As a Saints fan and growing up around New Orleans, man, he gave us fits for years. It was always it was a fun competition, and it was always I always equate Carolina Panthers to we have like a almost pure hatred for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
We've dominated Tampa for years, even when Tom Brady was there. But Carolina always felt like more of like the brotherly rivalry for the Saints, where it was like, I cheered for Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. I would never tell most Saints fans that, but I did. He's a fun guy, and even his podcast, he's a very relatable guy, and you would never know it based on how he's portrayed sometimes. But love Cam. I love that take as well. I was watching some of your highlights, some of your film. You have what I feel is an incredibly quick release as far as soon as you're ready to sling that ball, it's out there. And do you equate that to anything in your background, just kind of how you learn to throw the ball, or did that come from someone that you used to watch or learn from?
A little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both for sure. When I was really young, I was always pretty good at throwing things. Especially, I always wanted to play football, so I always, took it a little bit more seriously. But I had this gigantic wind up, and I want to say it was close to the time Tim Tebow was starting to get a lot of traction. So, and everyone would always talk about how they hated his long release and everything. And my dad and I never had a trainer growing up, a quarterback trainer or anything. So everything was just me trying to figure it out. But really, I just watched people like Rodgers and Dan Marino and I just all kinds of stuff, different football. Like I'd watch a Football Life just to try and see who were they as people. Also, what can I learn on the field? So when I did that, and really it was when I was in college, I started trying to experiment with more things and just really see how fast I could get it from the slotted position up and out of my hand. Because that's what Dan Marino used to say. He used to say, you think about it as almost like travels around your ear, but it's just up and out. And he would had that really high release, and then you see with Rodgers it starts to dip more so over here. And I wasn't the strongest person. So I originally started pretty wide out here, more almost baseball-ish, especially my freshman year. You'll see I almost have that Phillip Rivers, sort of sling. But I always wanted to be more like Rodgers. So I ended up kind of bringing it more up here and just trying to get it out as fast as possible. I did a ton of different drills, just working on that, especially just like catch throws without the laces. I still incorporate that stuff in my warm up today.
That's a much more in-depth answer, and I absolutely love it, man. That was an amazing answer. Kind of hopping into, I was going to ask you, if you could mold your game after any quarterback, who would it be? And I feel like I might know the answer, but I'll still ask it. If you could just, you almost like you're creating a player in 2K and they have the jump shots. Like which quarterback would you want the form of?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely like Rodgers is that he's that guy, and just in a lot of senses. I know he gets a lot of flack from media and people maybe even think like he's cocky, arrogant, whatever. I love a lot of the stuff he does, in pretty much every single aspect. And I think the way he plays the game is revolutionary. I mean, I think that's just an objective fact. I think the Pat Mahomes of today and everything like that kind of stuff really started more so with Rodgers, and before that, Marino, Elway, those kind of guys. Everything builds, right? But yeah, I'd say Rodgers for sure. I'm not nearly as talented as him. I don't think there's pretty much anybody who is, other than maybe a couple guys. But yeah, I'd say more so I watch Rodgers, Mahomes. Those are the two biggest guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes sense. Mahomes is, it feels like he's playing the game a different way, but I think a lot of that is he's playing the game like four different quarterbacks at once. He has the sidearm throw, he has the traditional throw, he can do the long ball. We saw that with Tyreek for years. He can get mobile when he needs to. He's a lot of fun to watch.
Speaking of basketball, almost like he's got a deep bag. He
right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When he gets in it, he's fun, man. It's like the no looks and stuff like that, and it's almost like I equate that to like Curry in the NBA. It's like most coaches are like cringing when you do stuff like that, But when they do it, it's like, well, we've come to expect it from them. When Curry turns around after shooting the ball and doesn't even look, that's kind of Mahomes' same game in the NFL. So absolutely, yeah, Mahomes is a lot of fun to watch. We were spoiled by Drew Brees in New Orleans for so many years that, sometimes when I look around the league, I'm like, man, I didn't know how phenomenal it was to watch a guy who could throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every single game. Yeah. There's not a lot of guys doing that, even some of the really good quarterbacks are still not doing that, so we're spoiled by Patrick Mahomes right now as well. So we'll enjoy him while we have him. So hopping into kind of the next thing, your time with the Breakers so far. I know you went from the the training camp thing with Carolina to kind of the XFL and to now the USFL. Last I heard, obviously we don't know, the status of all that, but it kind of looks like you're going to have a chance to really compete for the job with the Breakers, this season. We got some interesting additions with Jimmy Robinson Jr. We also have Marcus Ball who came over. How excited are you to kind of start this next season? Whether or not, whatever the league is called, it's happening, right? So how excited are you kind of get this opportunity to be in the USFL and make a name for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. Seriously, it's one of those things you don't realize it. Especially, I was spoiled in a way coming from Elon, being able to play all 4 years, and that was definitely a goal when I was getting recruited out of high school. But you don't realize until you're not playing and you're fighting for even a rep in practice and stuff like that, and then just all kinds of crazy stuff that's just completely out of your control happens. And like you said, you go to training camp and then looking at XFL, that ends up falling through, go back to Carolina, and then it's the USFL, and it's just like you're always just finding ways to pivot and shift and find your way in this world, in this industry. So for me, I'm just really looking for that opportunity to play, and then the rest is up to me, which that's all I want.
Yeah, that's the most important part, is just being ready. Kind of brings me to my next question. How do you stay ready whenever you're going through these, even off season? The Saints are kind of going through some stuff right now where Alvin Kamara said that he knows what he sacrifices, and, maybe a conversation needs to be had with everyone else about what they sacrifice. What are some ways that, we don't have to talk about sacrifice per se. You talked about moving around, missing your family, but what are some ways that you stay ready and stay prepared, whether it be off season, whether it be with this kind of, unsure state of the league and everything like that, to make sure you're ready to go day one?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a few different things. Really, I think the thing that is different, especially about being a spring league player, is that you're always having to be ready for the fall league. So you end up kind of being in 2 seasons. And football is not a sport where you can handle 2 seasons in 1 year, generally speaking, especially if you're playing a lot of games. That's very, very difficult to do. So it's the biggest balance is just physically making sure that you're ready, not overtraining in a sense. Then that leads to the psychological burnout per se. So for me, I think it's really just finding that balance of that work-life balance, in a way of being able to hang out with my family and you do that kind of thing, because I'm now engaged and moving into that realm of life. And I mean, my fiance, she does content creation, and we're going all over the place, which is fantastic. But that's sort of my way to have a break in some senses, because when I'm here, it's training a lot, and throwing 3 times a week, lifting 4-5 days a week. And then from there, it's just having any hobbies. But it's really, I'm not going to make it sound like it's a huge struggle or anything. I have a very good schedule right now. It's very fun. Every day is pretty fulfilling, to be honest. So I really enjoy it. Everyone chooses their problems, and I'm glad to have the ones that I have right now.
Man, you have some quotes, man. I love it. They're very, very quotable. But last thing I'll do is we'll kind of wrap this up on just general question, what's one thing that you look forward to with football? I like to ask people not associated with winning. It could be a memory that you have. It could be something that you look forward to during the season. Obviously when people win national championships and rings and stuff like that, that's easy to think of like, oh, this is great, but something that people may not see about the game that you truly enjoy.
Yeah, it's the people for sure. There's no doubt about it. I mean, even it's an adjustment going from college to, now it's once you get out of college and out of that locker room environment, it seems like the only thing you really want back out of it is having that environment. And because I think Peyton Manning or somebody said it, and he was just like, wins and losses come a dime and a dozen, but it's the locker room, it's the relationships that you really remember. And I definitely understand that now. And even this past year, made a lot of really good friends, trying to keep up with people, things like that. But even with how volatile the league is, there's so much turnover that you don't know if you end up ever seeing anyone again. At least not in the football sense. So yeah, it's I'd say the people is the biggest thing. You can't do this game is just such a team game. You can't do your job. I can't be the best quarterback I can be if the receiver, if the lineman, if the running back next to me isn't being the best player that they can be. So that's such a big aspect to the game. That's not seen. It's talked about a good amount, I'd say, but it's very hard to execute.
Yeah. And Hollywood amplifies everything, but I think very often about the scene from The Longest Yard, whichever one you want, the old one or the new one with Adam Sandler, and how he makes his team mad and the offensive line lets him get hit a lot, right? Obviously, the NFL and the USFL and college, there's probably not a lot of animosity, and to doing things like that. But at the same time, if you carry yourself as a leader, you speak very, very much so like a leader. So I'm sure that resonates with the team. Yeah, man, people will have your back. It definitely, I can imagine that goes a long way when it comes to people. So keep doing what you're doing, man. Excited to see what happens for you guys this season coming. If you have anything you want to tell the people, I'll give you the floor and then we'll kind of close it up.
I don't have anything special, man. Just keep following along. I'm really excited for the year and support however you can. I'll definitely, hopefully we'll be giving you guys a great product to look at.
Absolutely, man. We love following it. Again, this is Ethan Myers here with Davis Cheek on the segment of called Get to Know. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all around.
Thanks so much.